right, our next award is the George Tragos Award, which honors excellence in mixed martial arts. David Tank Abbott burst onto the UFC scene in 1995, and mixed martial arts were never the same. With his never say die attitude and fierce striking ability, made him a hit amongst fans. He had 25 professional fights in an almost 20-year career, in addition to a short career in professional wrestling. So that makes him one of the perfect honorees from the Tragos Hall of Fame. Please welcome Tank Abbott.
How'd I end up here? I'll tell you what, seems like a long time ago, but seems like it's been my destiny to be up here. Anyways, let's go back to when it first started. My dad was a football player. I was a youngster, 3, 4, 5 years old. And George Wells from wrestling, he played football with my father, and he'd come over and wake my dad up, and they would fight on the bed. And I was knee high to a grasshopper going, what the hell is this big black guy attacking my dad for? And since then, it was always in the back of my head. And I went on to, football was a religion, and somehow I found wrestling. My dad was a football coach, and everything was about football. So when football was over, my brother was 5 years older than me, and he had to do some kind of sport for my brother. So being a little sidekick, 10 years old, I'd go to his wrestling practice and wrestle all the 105-pounders. I was 10 years old, and they'd beat the hell out of me. And I like to look them up nowadays, but back in the day, I obviously football. I found my calling. It was wrestling, and I started wrestling when I was 10 years old, AAU and all that kind of stuff. And it was a hand and glove kind of fit, and I knew it was going to be, that's what I was going to do. And so that happened, and sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not much of a great orator, as you probably all know if you've ever seen WCW. So at any point, I went on to wrestle, and I went on to junior college, and before the match, or before a practice, we'd always do professional wrestling, clotheslines, that kind of stuff, just to get warmed up before the warm-up. And after the season was over, me and the heavyweight went to go see WWF at the time in Anaheim. And on the way there, before that, we stopped off and got a half-gallon of tequila. So I was one of those crazy marks halfway. We got into the arena, and we were in the last row back in the broke 4 days of college. And I said to my heavyweight, I said, hey, let's get in there. And he's like going, what? And I go, come on, let's go, man. He goes, I'll do it. And I said, okay, I'm going. I didn't turn around, and he sure enough followed me. And I was one of those crazy marks bouncing off the ropes in between a match. And none of the security knew what was going on. I understand if it was, what was that guy's name, the head of security?
Doug
Doug
Dillinger.
Doug Dillinger. I would
Come on
understand.
now.
If it was Doug Dillinger, I probably would have figured it out by then. But they let us wrestle for a while
Doug.
until they finally figured it out and said, hey, no, those are some crazy marks in there wrestling around. And so I took a powder out the back and they ended up arresting him. So, for trespassing, I guess. I remember looking at Hulk Hogan just going, oh my God, that guy's huge, that guy's crazy. But that stuck with my mind, so I guess it was my destiny. And then I moved on to going to jail for beating up a cop's son. The only reason why I bring up the fact that he was a cop's son is because they really wanted to get me after all those times that I'd beaten up other people in the street. And so they lied and twisted the story around and got me thrown in jail. And that's okay, because I found UFC after that. And went on to the UFC, made my name. I went into, the first time I was in there, the matchmaker guy pretending he was the head of the UFC was talking to me and he said, well, what martial art do you have? And I said, well, I've wrestled my whole life. And I go, there is only one martial art, and that's wrestling, amateur wrestling. And they didn't like hearing that. And they said, well, we already have a wrestler. And they were talking about a soft wrestler, heavyweight guy. I forget his name. But I go, yeah, but he's not hard. You don't understand. There's a difference between wrestling and hard wrestlers, and that guy's a soft cream puff. And they said, no. I go, trust me, I've been in countless wrestling rooms, and I can tell you, I was the hardest guy to ever walk in that room, and that guy's not hard. And they said, oh, well, he started scratching his head, and he goes, well, what do you think about being a street fighter? And I go, well, that kind of fits, because I just got out of jail for that. And he said, well, okay, have you ever seen that Clint Eastwood movie with the orangutan? And I'm thinking to myself, because I don't really watch movies, and I especially back in those days. And I said to him, I don't watch movies, I love them, man, I don't tell you. And he goes, well, how about we call you Tank, after the Tank Murdoch, the guy, the street fighting legend from there. And I said, hey, call me Lucy, man, just let me get in there and fight. If I don't go to jail, I'm happy, I don't care. You can even beat me, I don't care. And he goes, okay, that's it. You're going to be Tank Abbott. Sounds good to me. And so went on to fight and did my thing. And little did I know that wasn't always on the up and up. When tournament fights and stuff like that, you have friends fighting friends, and everybody was gassed to their gills. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever. You know, you fought in tournaments, so if you lost one and you won two, who cares, you know? So I was there doing my thing, and Senator McCain had some interest in boxing at that time. And UFC was coming up, and they were feeling threatened, so there was some political pressure to run it out of business. And I was like, oh boy, what am I going to do now? I found the love of my life, and they're going to take it away. And so I don't know exactly how it came to be, but the WWF was coming to Anaheim. For some reason, I got in touch with them, and I went and met Jim Ross, Pritchard or something like that, other guy. And I met them in a bar in the hotel.
They did that all the time. People like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I went in there and I was talking to them, and all the boys were walking across. I didn't understand it at the time. Still don't, probably. But they were all looking at me with goo-goo eyes, like, what the hell are they doing talking to that guy? And so I was there doing my thing, and they set up a thing for me to go try out to see if I could take bumps and that kind of stuff. I guess it's not exactly an easy transition. And so I said, sure, I'll show up. And so I go there. But before that, I was like, going, I guess I'm going to do professional wrestling. I go all the way back from when I was a little kid to college, jumping in the ring. I go, I guess it's my destiny. Never thought I was going to be a professional wrestler. And so I was sitting at home, and this is before cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And I was coming up on a week or so before that, and the phone rang. What the hell is that? You know, pick up the phone, hello? Hello, Dave? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, this is Eric Bischoff. Eric was pulling the old swooper-rama. I didn't understand it at the time. He goes, I heard you're going up north. I mean, that could have been my backyard at the time. I didn't know how that was. I'm going, I get it. Up north. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you're going to WWF, I believe it was at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And he goes, well, do me a favor. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, go up there. If you're into glitz and glam and big buildings, that's your place. I said, oh. He goes, go, but check it out. He goes, I just want one favor from you because I want to see you right after that. I said, okay, well, what? I go, what do you want to do? He goes, well, just don't sign anything. He goes, I'm not saying you can't go there, don't do anything. He goes, just don't sign anything. I said, hey, man, you got it. That's my word. My word's gold. He goes, okay, I'll see you. After you see them, I'll fly you out and we can talk. So I went out there, go to their little tryout place, taking some bumps and doing whatever. Kurt Angle was just going there. I was so close to saying, hey man, let's do some takedowns. You know, there was a wrestling thing there, but it never came to be. But so that happened, and then I go in, and it comes down to going up in the big building in Stanford. I was like, wow, this is pretty. He wasn't kidding about the big glitz and glamour and the whole 9 yards. And so I went up in the elevator and went to some room, and I guess I was talking to Pritchard for a little bit, and he's talking to me, and you know, I'm not the biggest businessman in the world, but I could feel myself getting put together. And so then I walked into this office, mind you. It was kind of like a lobbyish kind of thing. And the office, so he had a desk, and he had these two big pillows to sit on. So I'm like, what the hell is that? Why are there chairs in here, you know? They were like circus pillows or something. And I'm like going, what the hell is in my head's going on? And so they're sitting behind the desk, and that's when JR came walking in. He had just had a stroke going on. It was kind of like a surreal moment, Twilight Zone kind of thing. Cowboy hat with a stroke kind of thing, and Pritchard talking to me, and I'm sitting on a circus pillow in front of a desk. And so I'm kind of like looking up at them like this, and they're trying to put me together, and I'm like going, oh, okay. I'm like going, well, that just doesn't, sound right, whatever. And they're kind of like looking at each other like, this ain't working. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, sounds good, whatever. And they say, okay, like slap their hands together. I go, no, I'm not saying that we have a deal or anything. And they're like, what? And I'm like, like you gave me something to think about. I'll go out and think about it, and you guys can call me whenever. And they kind of like shrugged their shoulders together and looked at each other and go, oh, okay. And so I got up from the pillows. I don't even know if someone even helped me get up. I got up. I was much more nimble then. And so I get up and they're kind of behind the desk on the other side of it anyways. And I got to the door, the threshold, and walking out of the office door. And I said, oh, by the way. And they're like, yeah? I go, do you know I'm talking to Eric? And they jaws dropped to the floor, like, whoa, 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 they said. And I'm like walking, that wasn't our final offer. No, come back here. And I go, no, I guess I gotta get on my plane here and take off. So I left, and sure enough, I got home, like you had those answering machines back in those days with the cassette tape. And it was non-stop ringing, non-stop. I was like, what the hell is going on? And it was obviously them calling me over and over and over and over again. I was on a plane to Atlanta and walked in there, so I knew kind of what was going on. At least I thought I did. Ignorance is bliss, right? It was an eye-opener when getting to WCW. But anyway, so I get in there and meet up with Eric and his thing. And he's like, okay, hey, this is what we got here. And how did WWF at the time go? And I go, in and on, trying to do my best businessman.
Bullshit.
Exactly. And it wasn't going anywhere. And so Eric kind of says, he stopped me. And he goes, hey, before you hurt yourself, basically could have inserted kid, but before you hurt yourself, kid, well, let me tell you what I have in mind, and we'll go from there. So I let him speak, and I said, okay, Sam, let's go. And so he said, how to go, and I go, hey, I'm just into integrity. And he looked at me and he goes, well, that's what I'm all about. And I said, all right, we shook hands. And he's never let me down with that. He's always been a stand-up man to me, and to this day, and glad that I met him. Went on to WCW. Boy, that was a treat. Talk about getting thrown right into the fire. And mind you, I never, ever thought I was going to be a professional wrestler. Like I said, it must have been destiny from my dad all the way to all the things that happened to me. But I went there, and they started sitting, this is before they sent me to the power plant, and they said, okay, we're going to start bringing you in. I said, okay, and they go, we're going to fly you out to Houston. Not knowing anything, all starstruck almost in the back, because these are people that you grew up with watching, like were like stars like Hogan and all those guys. And this big, robust cowboy dude comes walking out, cowboy boots. And he was coming from a distance in the big Astrodome or whatever it's called there. And I'm going, who the hell's that? Walks up, and it's Dusty Rhodes. And he walks up and goes, okay, you're a tanker, I guess I'm your agent or whatever. I'm not a very good person to do that kind of stuff, but I'm like, yeah, and he goes, all right, he goes, we need you to go out there and precondition the crowd. And I'm like going, what? Yeah, exactly. What, you're going to precondition what? I already washed my clothes kind of thing, And he's like going, no, don't worry about it. It's not going to be on TV. He goes, but you got to go out there and get the crowd to get behind you. And I'm like going, get behind me. He's well, they can't really like you. And I go, oh, okay, it's easy for me to do. And he's like going, just go out there and say whatever you're gonna say. And I was inside my head like, this is new to me. I don't know, I just go out and bite and be myself with that kind of stuff. But Dusty's like, don't worry about it. It won't be on TV. And I'm like going, okay. And I was with a group of friends they brought with me. And I'm like going, holy, I can't believe this, man. And they're gonna go out in front of you see how many people are out there? I go, it's like kind of like right now. I can't believe I'm talking, right? And so I go out there and they bring me into the crowd, and like about 10 rows back. And I'm going, well, maybe no one will notice me and everything will be cool. Well, it didn't take too long before everybody around me is like, oh, yeah, Tank Abbott, hey, cool to see you, sir. You're awesome. And I'm going, yeah, just wait 5 minutes. So I jumped in the ring, and it was kind of like, hello? And everybody's like looking at the whole Astrodome or whatever the thing's called. They're all looking at me, and I'm like going, hi.
I never did that. Bro.
Yeah, I'm like, hi everybody, and then I just broke into the old cliches of nothing but queers and steers here in Texas. What the hell are you guys doing here? La, da, da, da. And they started throwing everything except for the kitchen sink at me. I walk in the back, and that big cowboy Dusty Rhodes is sitting there, and he goes, Tanker. And I'm like going, yeah. And he goes, I told him to get mad at you, not kill you. What a kid. And I went, oh my God, I found my calling. And obviously, we went on from there, and then I believe it was Baltimore. It was kind of the same kind of setup. And this big, huge, giant guy. And there's like Bradshaw, big, huge, giant guy, but this guy was really giant. He wasn't the giant. This guy was Sid Vicious. And he was warming up, and I was like going, oh my God, look how huge that guy is. He's giant. And he was warming up and talking to everybody in the back, kind of dark back there. And he sees me out of the corner of his eye, and he says, hey, come here. And I walk over, and to talk to you, he gets out, he puts his legs way out, and he squats down, and puts his hands on his knees, so you can see like eye to eye. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Sid? And he's all, hey, just give you a word of advice. And I go, yeah? And he goes, I don't know what your deal is, I don't care what your deal is. He goes, but this is a cutthroat business. And he goes, don't tell anybody your business, don't do anything, people aren't here your friends, they're not anything. And I said, okay, I'll take that to heart, thanks. And so.
Sorry, I got a text. Schedule keep
What?
Like, you gotta go.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. See, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so time goes on, and turns out that I'm going to wrestle for the strap. Eric was gone. Everything was gone, and I get to, I think it was Minneapolis, and there was rumors of this happening, so they're all like, come on in here. And as I go into the back where the agents are, and Sid's in there. And I walk in there, and he goes, I believe it was, what the hell's the guy's name? He's no longer with us. Anyways, he was the booker at the time. Kevin Sullivan. And he goes, Tanker, and I'm like, yeah, and he goes, I know we called you, and I know this, but you know, you thought you were gonna get the strap, but you're not getting the strap. And I looked over and it was Sid sitting there. He was kind of had a smile on his face, and I said, it took me all this time to figure out what he was talking about, but so they made him the champ that night, but I have to cut it down real short. So anyways, I can't believe I'm here. It's awesome, and it's like the cherry on top to my professional wrestling extravaganza that I did in my life. It was probably the best time of my life, fun-wise. Had a great time, and I just like to thank everybody here for putting the cherry on top of my